So I was about to give a talk at the Harvard School of Public Health when a distinguished researcher came to me and told me that the CEO of Coca-Cola, PepsiCo, General Mills, or Kellogg, all of these food companies should be in jail. So I asked why, and he said because all they do is sell this food that has no nutritional value, food that's all pleasure and no health. So I was shocked because it came from a very respectable scientist, not from some Twitter troll, but also because all the work that I've done at INSEAD in the past 15 years shows that it's wrong. And what I want to show you today is that actually pleasure can be a path to healthier eating. And that food marketing, believe it or not, can actually be a force for good, starting by helping us food marketers stay out of jail. So I call this approach Epicurean nudging. Nudging, because it's based on the work of Richard Thaler, who won the Nobel Prize in economics last year, for the simple idea that rather than forcing people to behave in a certain way through restrictions, fines, or taxes, it is possible to nudge them into the right direction, for example, to eat better, while preserving their freedom to eat junk food if they want. And I call it Epicurean, and by the way, with an N, not epicureal with an L as is in the program, which is really close to epidural in my opinion, for my liking. Epicurean because it's based on the really teaching of another Greek philosopher. We heard a lot this morning about Greek philosophers, Epicurus, who wrote in 2300 years ago to his friend Meneceus that the wise person doesn't eat the largest amount of food, but the most pleasing. So the reason why I started working on Epicurean nudging is based on my earlier research had shown the limits of improving the nutritional quality of food. And as a food marketer, I'm often asked by doctors or nutritionists or the media, why can't food companies just sell healthier food? And you know what, all of these people who think it's healthy, you know what they have in common? One word, childless.
Who likes Halloween candy?
Me!
Well, we're going to replace candy with some healthy Halloween treats today. These are called veggie fruit chews, guys.
This is the most worst I ever tasted. It's not good. Mine tastes like broccoli. Yuck. Mine tastes like poo-poo. It's kind of good, kind of bad.
Be honest with me, Adriana.
It's bad.
We have asparagus flavor, beet flavor, vitamin A and D.
Hey, you're saying disgusting stuff is good stuff, and it's disgusting.
You're gonna love these healthy nori pops.
Nori pops?
It also has a fibrous quality, which is gonna get your colon going in the morning.
They're disgusting.
These are tofu ghost mellows.
It tastes like rotten dough.
What about artichoke buttercups?
I threw up.
You threw up? Okay. They're delicious, healthy cupcakes.
It tastes like poopy pinata.
Count riboflavin. B12. B12 is like the best treat you can get on Halloween.
It's like the worst thing I've ever tasted. I think I need water.
These are the treats that are replacing candy on Halloween. How do you like Halloween without candy?
I want candy!
So just to be clear, improving the nutritional quality of food is a good thing. The problem is that even when food companies are able to remove the salt, the sugar, and fat without changing the taste, there are enough people who don't believe that this improved food can't taste as good as the original, and they will stay away from it. The second unintended consequence of food reformulation is what I've discovered and I've called a health halo. And the idea is that it's often enough for food to claim to be low in fat or low in sugar or gluten-free for people to categorize it as healthy, and then to think, if it's healthy, I can eat more. So in one study, for example, we served people the exact same food, those M&Ms, but we either call them regular or we call them low fat. We actually went on the M&M's website, but instead of writing, I love you or happy birthday, we wrote light M&Ms or low fat M&Ms. So just so we understand each other, there's no such thing as low-fat M&Ms. So we just lied to people, but we're food marketers. What do you expect? Anyway, when they were called regular, people served themselves a regular portion. On average, 192 calories, and when we asked them, how many calories you think you got, they said 119, fair enough. When the same M&Ms were labeled low fat, many people actually took the cup and dunked it in the bowl. And the overweight people in our sample ate 281 calories, which is 46% increase without realizing it, as you can see from the calorie estimation. More generally, the work that I've done at INSEAD with the former PhD students, Nelia Ordabayeva, shows that we are just very bad at estimating calories. And I'll come back to that. So, but to summarize, what we can say is that focusing on improving the quality of the food, focusing on improving what we eat, has limits because it leads to either rejection or to this health halo. And the promise of Epicurean nudging is that by moving from focusing on what we eat to how we eat, it is actually possible to make us happier, to spend more money on less food, a triple win for health, business, and pleasure. Why? Here's the key insight. As consumers, we have much stronger preferences for what to eat than for how much. We just want a normal. The thing is that with all the supersizing, a normal doesn't mean anything nowadays. When you go to a fast food restaurant, you have a choice between a small, a medium, and a large, okay? And if you're an adult, you're probably thinking you're hesitating between the medium and the large. The thing that you fail to realize probably is that even the kid-size cup in a fast food restaurant today is actually larger than what used to be the regular size for an adult not so long ago, 19 centiliter. In fact, for the first 60 years, Coca-Cola was only available in one size, 19 centiliters, 6.5 ounces, which is more than what is the size for a kid today. And these big sizes are so profitable that convenience stores and movie theaters have kept increasing. Larger, and larger, and larger. What's interesting is that even if you probably don't think this is appropriate for a single serving of soda, the simple fact that it's there makes the old large in a fast food restaurant look totally normal, even a bit small, right? So what can we do? A very simple solution, a nudging solution, is to actually introduce a smaller size back into the lineup. By doing that, not only will some people choose it, but even if no one chooses the small one, it makes the old small a medium, it makes it a normal, meaning that more people will want to buy it, or people will be willing to pay more for it, allowing the restaurant to make more by selling less. More generally, the research that I've done at INSEAD shows that we're so bad at estimating volume that, for example, if you double the size of anything, let's say a cup, it doesn't look 100% bigger, it looks 50 to 70% bigger. And on the other side, if you're trying to reduce a size, for example, and you just cut the height of a tube, people will notice immediately. However, I found that if you actually elongate the tube by increasing the height and reducing the diameter, you can cut up to 24% of the food without people noticing, even when they're trying really hard. Why is that? Because our eyes are really bad at geometry. What happens is that instead of multiplying the height, the width, and the length, we add the height, the width, and the length, and that's why we can be easily nudged towards smaller portions. In other words, what Epicurean nudging does, it helps us make reasonable portions look normal again. Now, Epicurean nudging isn't just about smart downsizing. More fundamentally, it's about helping people realize that a smaller portion is actually best, not from a health point of view, but from a pleasure point of view. Why? Well, think about when you're at the end of a meal and you're thinking about having a dessert. And you're probably hesitating between, should I have the entire chocolate cake, or should I split it with a friend, or just take a bite? People in this situation tend to focus on two things that drive them towards the larger size. The first one is hunger. You're looking at a small one, you're thinking, well, will I still be hungry after that? Let's take a bigger one. The other one is value for money. I don't know about you, but when I buy the small size popcorn in a movie theater, I feel like totally ripped off, like I'm subsidizing the others, because with a few more cents, I could have had a much bigger bag. So both of these drive us towards a larger size. With a former PhD student at INSEAD, Jan Corneel, what we realized is that there's something that goes in the opposite direction. And it's something we've all experienced, and it's the sensory pleasure of eating. We all know that the first bite, the first mouthful, is the one that gives us the highest pleasure. I mean, take the first spoon of a chocolate mousse. It has this wow effect. The second bite is still pleasurable, but less. And the last one, honestly, is pretty bland, right? Now, the thing that most people forget, and this is very important, is that the overall pleasure of that chocolate mousse is not the sum of the pleasure of each bite, but the average. Meaning that that last spoonful of chocolate mousse doesn't add just a little bit of bland pleasure, it actually subtracts from the average. It pulls the average down, which is why that last spoonful of chocolate mousse is always the one we end up regretting, isn't it? Okay? So the idea is that if we just remind people of this phenomenon we have all experienced, if we put the sensory experience of eating back at the center of the decision when we're choosing between small, medium, large, we can actually nudge people to voluntarily choose a smaller portion, not because of health or diet, but because of pleasure. We tested this idea in many studies in France, in the US, kids and adults, including one which was run at the cafeteria of the Bocuse Culinary Institute near Lyon, where we had 109 people who actually came and paid 15 euros for a meal. It was a prefixed meal, but all you can eat. They could choose as many portions as they wanted of appetizer, main course, and dessert. And we had 3 conditions. In the first condition, it was just a regular menu. The second condition, we actually provided on the menu information about calorie and fat, health. The third menu was a sensory menu, in which we had this description that described really beautifully all the different multisensory aspects of eating the food, the taste, the aroma, the texture, etc. Okay, result. In the control condition, people ate about 1,000 calories. When we added nutrition information, they got so scared that they actually ate 32% less, 681 calories. We actually joke that we believe some of these people stopped at McDonald's on the way back after lunch because they ate so little. The nutrition menu led to a smaller, more sustainable reduction by 19%. But the big difference is this. The nutrition menu reduced intake, but also reduced satisfaction from 4.6 to 4.2, and it also reduced the overall value of the meal. Remember, they paid 15 euros. In the control condition, they said, it's probably worth 17. In the nutrition condition, they said, no, it's not worth more than 15 euros. In contrast, the nutrition menu, which also led to reduced eating, actually increased overall satisfaction to 4.8 and increased the fair value estimate of the meal to 20 euros. In other words, Epicurean nudging made people happier to spend more for less food. This triple win for health, business, and pleasure. So what have we learned? As consumers and as parents, I think we just need to remember that Epicurus actually was right. Pleasure in food is not the sum of the pleasure of each bite. Doesn't increase with quantity, but with quality. For the food industry, what I'm always telling them is that they need to stop acting as if they are in the energy business, oil and gas, making more by selling more calories to more people more often. And they need to consider moving to an Epicurean business model, where food is not fuel, but pleasure. And instead of making more by selling more, they're making more by selling less food, but more pleasure. This famous triple win for health, business, and pleasure, which also will help food marketers like me stay out of jail. Thank you.